So this is my Facebook page. If you want to like it, it's facebook.com/Michael Easter Artist. And on here I have a lot of my current projects. This LP I-10, the Liquid Plasma Iteration 10 rifle, is what we're going to be doing our tutorial on. This is a new piece for my own project that I'm working on completely independently, and you'll be seeing a lot of this material later. So I'm not going to get into detail in this video, but in the first actual tutorial working towards this, that's when we'll really learn about what I did here for that and where we're going to go with it. Also on here are some of my past projects. This is a independent project I worked on for Unity, just to get a hand in it. See, I've got this explosives material, this explosives object blows a hole in the wall. It's pretty fun, exciting. I have a speed modeling of a Beretta up. That's I mean, you can watch it, but it was a really bad first attempt, and I'm not really using that for anything. I used someone else's source material. It wasn't great. So that's all my stuff. That is not me. That was a class project. We had to use that model. I just want to put that out there. So yeah, that's me essentially. I wish I could show you stuff from the 3D virtual tour, but we're not sending out any promotional materials for that yet. You'll see one screenshot today, and that's about all I'm going to show you about that project until it gets into beta, because until we're in beta, we're not revealing any of our materials. I should turn off that chat. I'm going to have to delete that later in post. But I've restarted twice, and I'm not going to restart again. So a few basics about this tutorial series. This is just kind of an introductory video for me to, number one, get acquainted with my setup that I have, find any changes that I have to do. After I post this video, you'll probably see a few changes. Number one, I'm going to move my desk because this window is terrible for my lighting. I just moved into a new dorm room for summer, so stuff in the background will change, but the real content is just going to be using Maya. That's pretty much it. Maya and Photoshop are my specialty areas, and that's what we'll be seeing a lot of. No, one more thing. So I want to do a first show that, like I said, since it's my getting used to everything show, is going to be kind of setup of a workspace. I'm used to working at my work desktop, which I obviously can't take here, but I have all my settings and preferences set over there differently than how I have them set here. One of the reasons is because my work is still using my 2012, and my personal computer I have my 2012 and 2013 installed. So I'm going to go ahead and do a small little tutorial about setting up your workspace. I know this is something that's confusing for some people, especially me at the start, on how to move stuff around. It's a really simple idea, concept, but we're just going to go ahead and jump into that. So I've already got Maya running here, and it's just a blank scene. We don't need to change that for anything. And what I'm going to do is I have a screenshot that I was telling you about that I'm going to use to remember exactly where everything is on my settings. So a lot of these I'm not sure if I really want anymore. I'm going to be doing a little optimizing here while I go ahead and do this. So I'm just going to put this down here, scroll this up a little bit, so I can see where everything was. So I've learned a lot more about the markup menu since I have I've really worked on this computer now. So some of these things are unnecessary. I've got a couple custom shelves up here, but I think I want to just do away with all of them because while they've served me well in the past, they're really not up to my level now. Like I don't need the sculpt geometry tool there because I know I don't need to use that a lot. There's some stuff up here that I'm gonna want to use, but see, I've got some quick select sets up here that are just unnecessary. Well, what I've learned a lot about, and this is something that I highly recommend to other people, is to learn the markup menus. They are very important. They're very useful. They will speed up your workflow like you would not believe. I'm dead serious. Things even as simple as creating cubes. Oh wow, I got a little bit of lag there. Creating cubes, inserting edge loops, extruding. I mean, you do that every day. And that's something that's a lot faster than every time. Instead of, see how quickly I just extruded once, twice, 3 times. If you were working from perhaps where you were or are, you would go up to, oh geez, I think it's edit mesh extrude, and then you'd pull out every time. And then, well, then you could hit G from there, but still, what's faster, this or that? So learn the markup menus is the first thing that I'm going to drop as a piece of advice. They're extremely important. You'll use them every day. It is not wasted knowledge. So you'll notice that when you're using the markup menus, they are object sensitive. So when you have nothing selected, it's going to give you your creation markup menu. There, I've created an object. Now, if you'll notice, and all I'm doing is shift right clicking. That's probably important. Shift right click brings up this markup menu, the object specific one. And so now that I have an object selected, you'll see that I have a whole new set of tools here. You'll see that earlier I had the object creation, and now I have manipulating an object, softening, hardening edges, appending to polygon, cut faces, merging vertices and edges. I use that all the time. Insert edge loop, etc., etc., etc. Another thing that's nice about this is I don't actually know how to get to this tool through the proper method. I only know how to use it in markup menus, which could be bad because they could end up changing the menus in other iterations, but for right now I'm not concerned. I'll find it later. So you can see that using these markup menus are a lot faster than finding the objects in the menus above. So we probably just got back from an awkward cut. Sorry about that. I have a roommate now. I'm an RA. I'm used to not having a roommate. Anyways, so using the markup menus is a useful tool for getting to all your stuff quickly. And you'll notice that's what I was talking about. You had the object menu now when you shift right click, and then if you select different components, you'll also get a new menu when you shift right click. Face normals, merge faces, extrude face, interactive split tool. These are all useful tools that you use all the time that are going to be a lot faster, and it's specific to faces. So when you grab vertices, it's going to bring up a whole new menu. So say I want to merge this vertice, I could do a couple of things. I could, oh geez, where is it? I think it's edit mesh, merge vertex tool, and I can move that there. Or what I can do is I can grab it, shift, right click, up, down. That's a lot faster when you think about it. Instead of going up to the menu, I just go click, bam, done. a lot faster than other methods. So it's important to get used to these menus. So with that in mind, we know what tools we can get to quickly and which ones that are not so easy to get to. Things like softening and hardening edges. That's one thing that I have the tool up here. I know exactly where in this menu is, so I say I want to soften these edges. I know it's over here, and I can get to that pretty quick. But this action here, you'll see that there's this V that you have to create. And you can create it almost perfectly every time. I mean, if you really have great muscle memory, you're going to get it every time. But for me, sometimes I'd rather not risk going into this this action because I might hit here, I might accidentally hit this one, I might just go off into nothingness, which I believe triggers the one that's closest to. So for some of these actions, I prefer to have them up here. And you can tell that just going up here is still a lot faster than going to edit mesh or normals, soften edge. So now we know which pieces are important for us, which ones we want to have, which ones are accessible quickly using the markup menus, and which ones are accessible but we still want to have a safer way of putting it without having to wait for the markup menu. Because the markup menu does have, half a second delay sometimes, especially when you're running all the software for doing a tutorial. Cheap software too, it's terrible. Then you're going to want to have a more reliable method. So let's go ahead and go into the actuality of how to set up this stuff. The commands are rather easy. When you're in here, in the bar, you can just right-click and delete. But you'll notice something weird happen. I hit delete, but it didn't delete. This is a glitch that's been around as long as I can remember. And the way that you can get around it is you click onto another bar, then you click back onto that one. And what do you know? That last one's gone. So this one's called, it's a quick select set for corner. I'm going to go ahead and delete that, and I'm going to delete this set, and I'm going to delete this set. You'll see they're still here, but clicking on them doesn't return an error in our little tooltip markup bar, or the script editor return bar. But whatever this is actually called, I don't know. Command response, there we go. So we can move these around by hitting the middle mouse button, and that does return, and that does react instantly. But I know that I don't need extrude, and you'll notice that, look, I can just scroll over here. I don't know why it does that, but I've got this command, which is subdivide, so add divisions. It's called add divisions in the markup menu, which is why I think about it like that. I think this is extract or cut edge. I separate component probably. I don't actually use it that much, so I'm not going to put that in there, because even though this is my optimal, more optimized work settings, it's not entirely perfect, and it's not like I change it every day. Delete selected edge / vertice is something that is extremely useful. So I'm just going to demonstrate that tool real quick in here. So this is what a lot of new people will do. They'll find some edges that they want to delete, and they'll hit the delete key. And they'll think, well, everything's good, they're gone. But if you hover over it, you'll see that it's really not. This is two edges still. And if you triangulate the object, the edge reappears, because it's still being built. Everything, when it's rendered, is rendered into triangles, and this is something that anyone intermediate will learn. And this is not indicative of what my tutorial series is going to be. It's not going to be me running through the tools, but I want to cover a few of the tools that are really important and that I really use that could lose someone who is absolutely new, and they could be like, whoa, whoa, what just happened? I do want to cover that to discourage making people run away from the ship. So then you have to go back and you have to delete those vertices. That's no fun. So a tool that's a lot better to use is, I don't know why those stay highlighted either. This is so glitchy up here. They need to fix it. So I highlight the edges and I can use this. Delete selected vertices / edges. So it's gone ahead and you can see I go into vertex mode. There are no vertices there. It got rid of it. In the markup menu, it's a little confusing. So since we're in edges, it's going to bring in something that's relevant to edges here. It's going to have add divisions here, bridge, fill hole. Extremely useful stuff all the time. Delete edge here is actually delete edge / vertex. And you'll see that when I fire the command, it's gone. So we know how to get to that. We use it all the time. We don't need to leave that up there. This, we don't need this. The perspective. So PTE, I don't know why it's PTE, but that's what it's called. We don't need this. Bend deformers are great. So I'm just going to go ahead and leave that up there. And why am I going to leave that up there? Why did I choose to have that one there? Because there's no markup menu to get to animation. It's all for modeling. The markup menus are there for modeling. And that is something to keep in mind. You're not going to go into surfaces and then all of a sudden get different menus or anything. When you're in these sets, it's always going to be polygon markup menus. It's always about the polygons. So I'm leaving that one up there because the bend deformer is something that I use in modeling a lot, but it's not in the modeling tools. So there's no way that through this menu up here I can get to the bend deformer. I have to click here. I have to go into, I believe, no, it's an animation. Then I have to go create deformers or edit deformers, whatever it is. Nonlinear bend. That's a very far way to go to activate a bend deformer. So I'm just going to leave it here because that's where I want it. I'm going to put these where they are in my workstation, right next to each other. Center pivot. Let's extract commands over here. I have 2 separate polygons. That's weird. As you can see, I haven't used this setup for a long time, and that's why I'm setting it up now. I'm not going to go ahead and finish this because it's just going to take a while of throwing stuff back and forth. But so you know, you'll need to add stuff to this because you're not going to already have a lot of your stuff up here. The way that you add an object is you go to the menu item that you want to add. So I want to add freeze transformations. The FT here is freeze transformations. So I'm going to go modify freeze transformations, and then I'm going to hit Control Shift. And I'm on a Mac. That's an important thing to remember. I'm not entirely sure if all these commands work exactly the same on a PC, but on a Mac it is Control Shift and then you click on it. And you don't have to, it doesn't have to fire the command, it's just going to do nothing and you're going to be confused. But roll over it and bam, it's there. You can also remember you can toggle between these menus to get it to pop up. So I'm just middle mouse clicking. I don't think I mentioned that. I'm middle mouse clicking to move these. And I'm right clicking to delete them. You can also set up your own little objects here on your shelves. You can change the menu icon name, the tooltip if you wanted to say something different than it actually says, background color and all that stuff. And it's hilarious that they have all this stuff here and it doesn't work properly. None of it. They have advanced options, but the simple stuff doesn't work. Water's refreshing. So that's how you add something to your menu. So you want to throw extract up there. I don't want to, but I'm going to just show you again. I just hit Control Shift Click, and then I roll over, and all of a sudden it is there. So I'm going to take a 2-minute pause, and I'm going to grab a file that I forgot to grab. Because next we're going to go into how to set up a Mel script on your shelf, which is going to use a little bit of that detailed section. So I'm just going to pause and grab that script from my Dropbox. Alright, and we're back. I'm going to assume it gives me a timer the first time, but it's not going to give it to me again. So what I'm going to go into now is how to set up a script on your bar. So say you've got a script that you've written. There are 2 scripts that I'm going to show you how to set up that I use myself all the time. One of them I wrote myself, and one of them I did not. And I'm going to thank Dios, I guess is his name. And he's created a reload texture tool. And what this script does is if you're relocating your system, say you're working in a team environment like I am at my job, what we do is sometimes we'll port it over. We don't have a server running yet, so we can't all work off the same stuff. So we're working off separate hard drives, and all of our files are in separate locations, so the textures are always going to be off whenever you reopen the file. And if you've ever had to go ahead and manually reload every file, it's painful. Even if you get the directory set and then you're just refresh the swatch over and over and over again, you know how frustrating it is. So what we use this tool for is you can just select, you refresh one of the materials, you specify the new path, and then you go and you click by scene, and then you hit reload textures, and all your textures are there. It's fantastic. It's such a simple idea. The script is simple and clean, but it works. It's a little floating window, and it works on all platforms. You can see Linux, Mac, and Windows. I didn't even know Maya ran on Linux, but hey, whatever works. Yeah, it's a fantastic tool. So I'm going to show you how to put it on your bar. That way you have quick access to it every time you want to open it. Because you can't set it to open on launch. You probably could, but I'd have to read a lot more into the Mel API. And I don't have time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. So here, you just go to the .mel file that you've downloaded on the internet at that site. I'll put a link to this down in the description. And so all you do is you click and drag the Mel into the Mel section. And there's your script. You don't have to hit Command A, but I like to because I work with the API, and to execute part of a script you have to hit Command Enter or Control Enter. I don't even know. We use the real keyboards there. This one has an FN key and it screws up the whole keyboard. It's terrible. And they don't offer a wireless one in that layout. The wireless one is the laptop one. And the wired one is the desktop one. It's terrible. Who thought of that? Why, for one of the best companies or largest companies in the world, they kind of screwed up there. So you select it all, and then you just hit this button. No, you don't. You hit this button. Shave script. Save it to the shelf. And you can name it. I named it RTT, Reload Texture Tool. If you want to give them credit, you can go Dios Tool or whatever you want to call it. But I name it RTT. And I'm giving him credit, don't worry. So, and that's going to add it to the shelf, just like normal. It's not going to pop up right away at first. And there you go. There's your Reload Texture Tool. So I'm going to delete this script. I was in the wrong box. And then I'm going to load up one that I wrote. And this script is dead simple as hell. This is all it is. But it's something that they really missed out. This script is really just like a little tool. What it does is when you select a face and then you execute the script. So you can execute it using the G key after you do it the first time. And it's just going to delete all your history, and I'll tell you why it does that in a second. All your construction history. And then you take your poly projection, it projects it with the settings that I like, maintain on, it projects in the box, etc., etc., etc. And then it sets the attribute, jeez. It sets the attribute, Now I don't even know which one's right. I'm second guessing myself. So go into the attribute editor, and it'll set the poly projection width and height to 10, which is what we use at my work for making sure all the brick on all the different buildings is the same size. So that's all it does. That's it. And it's dirt simple, but it's something you can't go in here when you go to project something. Say you got a face that you want to do. You want to project this. You can't go create UVs, planar mapping, and then set that in here. You can't do it, which is something that's really stupid if you ask me. You should really be able to do that. And so that's what my script is for. It's pretty much the projecting, and it deletes its history because it always needs to be named polyplanar project 1. I had a variable in here before, but getting it to work was just a pain in the ass, and so I didn't do it. So that's all the script does. I'm going to quickly save it to the shelf. POF, project 1 face. Simple as that. And there we go. You can see that it works. Let's put a texture on here. Sorry, like I said, the keyboard's a little different for the one that I'm used to and the one that I'm on. I'm just going to quickly make a material. This isn't a tutorial about making materials. It is a tutorial on something else entirely. Honestly, it's just a general tutorial. It's talking about a few things. So I'm going to just put this on here. And since I'm assuming that if this series does catch on, you're going to be wondering, what is this texture that I use for all this stuff? Well, it's a fantastic texture. I just stole it off the internet. You could easily make it yourself in Photoshop, but I use it for moving and sewing. See, you can see that these none of these edges are, of course, sewn together. Didn't want to do that because I'm not using my second monitor, but I haven't set up. That was that mode before that I deleted, the window arrangement. It had UV texture editor in this, but since I use markup menus, you'll see the markup menus carry over to even the texture editor. You shift right click and you have cut UVs, sew UVs, toggle texture borders, and move and sew UVs. And when you have nothing selected, you just get the toggle texture borders. It's fantastic. It's even useful then. So you move and sew those, and now you can see that the numbers are facing the wrong way. So we're going to grab these faces and then we're going to rotate them. And now they're right side up or upside down, whatever you want to say, blah, 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 blah. And there you go. This is the material that I use. I think I found it online. You can search for it yourself. Hell, you can make it yourself. It's dirt simple. It's not even like high resolution or anything. It's just a PNG with some numbers and colors and shapes on it. That's all it is. It's just to show you where the connections are and all that great stuff. The rotation of the face, etc., etc. Blah, blah, blah. So I think that I was going to demonstrate this. You can see it projects the one face. That's all it does. And you can see the projection width and height is now set to 10, which is different than if you just planar mapped manually. Then you'd have to go in here and you'd have to say 10, 10, done. Or obviously the much faster way, you go in here and you go do 10. That is the conclusion of my first episode. Yeah. I have no idea how long this took, but from now on I'm going to try and make sure that the tutorials last approximately 1 hour and don't go over that, because we're going to get into the new construction of that weapon that I showed you earlier, and I'm just going to keep going like I'm working at my job. So it's going to be fun, and I hope you stick around to see it. Alright, I'll see you guys next time.